Okay, so yeah, just wanted to thank you very much for joining us. We have run 3 of these sessions. We've got a 2-day event today and tomorrow, mainly around Dynamics, so Business Central and NAV today with a little bit of Teams thrown in. And then we've got what I'll call CRM, even though Microsoft have renamed that now, customer engagement and a whole bunch of other names around the different functionality. But for the next hour, we're going to be looking at Microsoft Teams and making the most of Teams after lockdown. So I'm going to try and as I said, do quite a lot of work in the demos today in the actual Teams app. If you've not sat on one of these before, my name's Liam. I've been at TechMan forever, and I've got a technical background, although now I look after the sales and marketing team, and thoroughly enjoy doing that. Today's session is from a bit of housekeeping. Hopefully you can all hear me. I think the guys who are just doing the admin for me on this would give me a thumbs up, or if there's a problem, they let me know. But everything should be clear. We're going to go for around about 45 minutes, give you time for some questions at the end as well. So that's really the purpose of the demo. And what we're going to cover, once my slides catch up with me, and not clicking quick enough, is going to have a very brief introduction. And then what we're going to try and do is look at Teams within 4 different areas: communication, collaboration, connected, and concentration. And the last one is probably something that's new to how I normally do a demo around Teams, because Microsoft have actually given us a whole bunch of information the last Thursday around what they've been finding with people using Teams in such big numbers over the last 3 months. They've now crunched that and they've come back with quite a lot of information. But that's what we're going to try and do. It's all going to be within Teams. If you've sat through one of these before, there will no doubt be some overlap. And I'll do a little bit of hopefully participation or audience participation in a moment to see what type of knowledge you've got on Teams, and that might influence the way we go about the demo in a moment. And I've got 2 very quick slides that really just try and set the scene. Why Teams is so important to businesses in this day and age. Nothing to do with COVID. This is something we've been working with Teams for probably three years now. I think it came out 3 years around about March or April time, something like that. It's been out for around 3 years, Teams has. And it's a solution that Microsoft have come up with because of the challenges we've all grown to be fully aware of email. Email was fantastic in the late 80s, all through the 90s. It was, this great way to communicate. And then over the last decade or two, it's become quite a burden for us. We open up our inbox, there's hundreds of emails some mornings when we come in. It's not particularly great when we are having conversations with people, as it's become more and more ingrained in what we do. We will send an email in, or an email comes into us, as you can see on the slide. We then forward that on to a colleague or maybe a team of people to get an answer or a response. We then get someone who replies all, someone who just replies individually, someone who selects who they're replying to, someone who also includes the customer in, so they get shared information that probably wouldn't want to go outside the building. And it becomes painful. Has so-and-so read it because they haven't responded? We have some people who think they should say thanks for every email, I've read it. We have some people that get really annoyed that you then fill my inbox up with just an email that says thank you. So we have all these different types of ways of working with email that's just not particularly great. We'll often forward files around as an attachment, and someone will save it to their local machine and they'll be working on that element of the spreadsheet or that version of the spreadsheet. Someone else will have another one. And when I want to get that information, how do I know the version I've got is the correct one? And we know there's loads and loads of scenarios like this that cause us issues with email. So email was great. It still serves a task. We are definitely not saying email is dead, but what we are saying is there's better ways for us to work. And I would probably say that the way we see this is as our internal communication. Teams is the way that we are now communicating within our organization, and email is still the way we communicate with customers, with suppliers, with people that are trying to contact me, try and offer me something new. Email is still the best way from people outside our organization, but internally Teams has become the hub that we go to for our communications. And at the beginning of the year, again, before coronavirus changed everything, we set a task in the marketing team that we weren't going to use inboxes and emails for our internal communications. And I'm pleased to say, I think during that 6-7 months now, I've probably had about 4 emails from my marketing team. Everything else has come through Teams. So I think that's really good that we were able to do that. And I think it also shows that it works, because if it wasn't, people would be slowly creeping back to Outlook and firing off emails again. So we've definitely moved the way we as an organization, or as a team at least, deliver and communicate, and deliver information around our team. And we're going to try, I think, and roll that out around other areas of the business as more and more people are now familiar with Teams. And the reason for that is it saves us a huge amount of time. And again, this is from a report by Forrester 12 months ago, April 2019. So Teams obviously was gaining ground, but I think it's obviously accelerated massively since March this year, with billions of hours of meetings taking place on Teams since this new way of working kicked into us. But the benefits are there for us to see. So, you know, the amount of hours a week we can save, and again, as it says, it depends on your role. But if you're what we probably class an information worker, someone who spends most of their time in front of a PC or a laptop, you're going to save time by using Teams. It's just inevitable, and I hope I'll show you some of that today. We also have the ability to save times in meetings. You know, we try and find the meetings within Teams can be quicker. We can be more efficient in that. We can get on and get out and get on with whatever's been agreed in that meeting to work. And again, we'll talk about how I think our meetings have changed a little bit today. I'll give you some examples as we do remote meetings of how to make those more engaging, more productive, as we're learning more and more each time we dive in and use Teams. So I'm hoping most of you have used Teams already. But if you haven't, it's a hub, really, where information is being pulled into and then pushed out around our various ways that we work. And the goal that Microsoft set is that we have one place to come to try and reduce flipping between lots of applications. So we've all done that. We've all done Alt and Tab on our keyboards to jump between Word, then into Outlook, then maybe into Dynamics. You know, maybe an application we have that's part of our business, maybe it's something in creative. And we're not going to eliminate that 100%, but what we are going to try and do is reduce it. And what we're going to see in the future is that the workflow capabilities we have throughout Microsoft's platform of products is going to become more and more embedded, that information ends up in Teams. And so some of the things they're talking about in Dynamics, I know most of you are Dynamics users for NAV or Business Central, then hooks and into that product, information is going to be flowing out with something Microsoft called the common data source. And that data is going to be flowing around lots of different areas, but potentially ending up, or predominantly ending up, within Teams. And that means that something can happen in Nav and Business Central that would trigger a workflow that takes place within Teams. So it might, the one example we give is if there was a return or someone's made a complaint or something hasn't been correctly delivered, then as soon as something happens in Dynamics, it would fire up a team in Teams where you've got maybe service level agreements you have to hit. So, you know, we need to contact the customer, we need to get this information, we need to do X, Y, and Z. And that's going to happen automatically because there was a trigger point in one of the Dynamics platforms. But then the users that live in Teams will get that information pushed across and they can do what they need to do. So it's really is being connected with these critical line of business applications that are mentioned on the slide. And we're seeing Teams become that hub where we go, rather than Outlook being the first place we go in the morning. Teams is now becoming that central point of our day. And this is the report that Microsoft, I think, published on Thursday evening. This suddenly dropped in the UK. And there's a lot of good stuff in here. So Microsoft have found that as we've moved from meeting rooms to living rooms, as they called it, that we've changed in the way we do things. So what they found was the meetings went through the roof, the amount of meetings we've had, and that has been very beneficial. We've been able to stay in touch with our teams, with our colleagues. You know, even socially, people are using things like Zoom, Skype, you know, all those different types of technologies we've got used to, and having too many quizzes on a Friday night when we couldn't go out. And obviously Teams as well has been used from a business point of view. But the challenges that have come with that are things like back-to-back meetings. So I go from one Teams call, I'm looking at my watch at 5 to the hour, knowing I've got another one I've got to get onto. And so we spend the day having meeting after meeting and then not always achieving something. So that's been a challenge, that it's just too easy to drop meetings in. We then have the issues around people's engagement within those meetings. The sweet spot seems to be once you go over 90 minutes, people are just going to start losing interest. They're going to get a bit stressed because they should be doing something else. So again, how can we make the meeting far more focused on what's important and get something out of it? We have become more considerate to our colleagues because suddenly we've seen, because their cameras are on, the type of environment they're working in. They might have seen their kids coming through and the challenges that people have faced who've got childcare issues or having to homeschool at the same time. And so actually they have noticed that we've become far more considerate to our colleagues and understanding that actually everyone's situation is a little bit different and it can be challenging for them. And so all these different things that we're learning as we use Teams and we work remotely really has set a lot of data which Microsoft are sharing with us about a better way to do things. And we're also seeing things change as we start to look about coming back to the office. One of the things that we did again at the turn of the year was starting to have Teams rooms. So you take what you're learning now with Teams when you're working, on your kitchen table or wherever you're basing yourself in your home office, your bedroom, wherever. And people are now more familiar, more comfortable with Teams, and it's going to start appearing within people's meeting rooms. So we changed every meeting room at our office to a Teams room back in December. And so you will have multiple screens to share your screen, see your colleague's screen, have a big monitor for video. So there's far more interaction. People can't read the room if people don't have their cameras on. People can't see that look that either someone is agreeing with you or disagreeing with you without verbally saying something. So that's interesting, and I think you'll see these devices appearing in far more organizations now as people embrace this technology around Teams. Okay, so I'm hoping that you can all now see probably your own selves or your initials on the screen. Is that correct, Mo?
Yeah, that's right.
Brilliant. Okay. Now, what you'll notice across the screen, we have this little toolbar where we can mute ourselves and we can have video on and off, etc. One of the things that's arrived in the last few months is raise your hand. So I thought, let's give this a try. I can have everybody who's on the call popping up on there. So if you've been using Teams predominantly just for video and audio calls, and that's mainly what you've used Teams for, can you just click on the raise your hand icon for me, please? Just get a general feeling of what people are using Teams for. Okay, so we've got a few people there. About 50% are mainly using Teams for audio and video. Okay, and that makes sense because it was a tool that everybody had. Okay, that's great. If you can just click off that, raise your hand now. That's good. I'll ask you one more. So has anybody used any of the Teams collaboration where we fire a team up and we start sharing files and things like that? Has anybody been doing that? If you do that, if you can put your hand up. Okay, so a couple of people have, a few people have. So all right, that's good. Okay, just give me an indication of what people are using Teams for. I will try and then tailor the demo a little bit towards giving people something they've not seen before, and let's try and dive in. But we'll try and cover these 4 areas of communication, collaboration, concentration, and being connected. So let me jump in and show you what Teams looks like if you haven't used it in anger yet. So what we have down the left-hand side, let me just. Is our activity. We've got our chat area, which is like your general chat between your colleagues, where you can have a one-to-one chat, one-to-many. We then have our Teams area, which is the area we're going to start in today. And then we've got a calendar. And if you ever want to, you can obviously have calls amongst your colleagues, which you can have voice calls or video calls, as we are almost doing now. But also you can connect it to your phone system. So we use it as our phone system as well. If you haven't done that or looked in it, or you think it's ridiculously overpriced, when you actually come to review your phone system, have a look, because Microsoft have now just included a new license that for I think it's about £12 per user. You can then have your phone calling plan with so many minutes every month, and you just turn it on. And once you've moved your numbers across, you've got your own phone system, whether it's just on a headset or via your speakers or your traditional phone handset as well. So do definitely have a look at that. It's very neat, and it just again means that we're all in one hub for everything we do rather than jumping between applications. But right today, we're going to look at this idea of teams, and what we have is a bunch of teams that I'm in. So one of the things that again we notice as our organizations change is that the way we work is different. We're not as much in these layered hierarchical systems in our businesses. We don't just always report to our line manager. We sometimes go different places to get information. We're typically in multiple teams, not just one. And that could be, from my marketing aspects, if we're talking about that, then we might be involved in marketing in a particular project for something else in the business, or getting some communications out to a particular customer that's about to go live and they want to use some marketing skills. So we're in a team there as well as doing our general marketing. So we're in different teams, different projects, and we have to jump in and out of those and wear multiple hats in our roles. So what we have is, as you can see here, my teams. I'm in a sales team, a marketing team, a management team, and so on and so forth. And the idea of concentration, which again will flow through this, is Microsoft tries to help us stay focused, or Teams tries to help us stay focused on what is relevant right now. And so I'm involved in lots more teams, but because I've not been active in those for a while, it hides them away from me and puts them down here at the bottom called hidden teams. So those are a bunch of teams I'm in, but I'm just not really active in them at this moment. There's not much activity, and so it hides them away from me. Now I can always bring them back up and promote them to be visible again, and I can hide one of other teams if I want by just clicking through and saying hide, and it will disappear. So this our whole idea of trying to just show us what's important to us, what we're working on right now, means we shouldn't miss anything. So it's easy. We're not going to create a team today, but again, if you need to do that, I can run through you after the event and show you how easy it is to create a team. Teams are just collections of people. So obviously it makes sense to have maybe a departmental team, and away you go. I wouldn't have an all company team because suddenly it loses all the elements of focus. Break it down into sensible teams. And today, for what we're going to have a very, very quick look at, we're going to look at our marketing team. And when you go into any team, what you see is we have things called channels, which are in our team, and they're different conversations or maybe different projects, however you want to refer to them, that you're working on. So we've got a general tab. Every team has a general area, and then what we start to do is create those communications that are those channels, that are relevant to what we're working on right now. So we can see that we have customer communication. So we try and send something out to our customers once a week. And so there's a channel around what we're going to do there, planning for that, stuff we're doing on LinkedIn, some new marketing ideas, etc., etc. So as we're doing things, meetings and discussions we would spin up a channel, and then the conversation will take place in there, rather than having one big noisy channel with lots of stuff in. Break it down into sensible, manageable communication channels. And you can also see we've got one that has a little padlock on, and that's what's called a private channel. So if you need to, you can have some level of privacy within the members of that channel. So I've got one called budgets, where we probably wouldn't want the whole team to have visibility of that. And so maybe there'd be 2, 3, 4 people that would need to go in to discuss budgets and look at the numbers. So we've put that in there, and we've made it a private channel, and then picked from the team the people that have access to that. So you don't have to share everything. We can lock it down. You have to think about how you're going to do that, but you can have a private channel. If you're not a member of that private channel, you won't even see it. So, if it's had personnel or salary, it wouldn't have some inquisitive person trying to click through on it. It just wouldn't become available. But it does let us know that it is private for those that have access to it. So the one we're going to go into today is our Surface Summit channel. So the events that we've been running since April. Very, very quick overview, and then I'll dive into some new stuff. And then what you'll find is, as I go into that we have what Microsoft describe as a chat-based communications tool. So rather than emails that land in your inbox and then it comes back, this is a thread. It's a chat that carries on, and you can reply to it. You can spin up new conversations about it and share information. And right at the beginning of this, where you can see we came up with the idea of running a virtual summit back on the 6th of April, right at the top. And I just put a comment in. I think I'd spoken to everybody on the phone or via an audio call, and we decided we were going to try and do something, but we needed to be very quick at getting this out. And so we started then having conversations. So some of my colleagues and my team members are on here. I can see Mo jumped in, and he said, right, I'm going to get a deck ready so the presenters will have something they can start to think of. So we got that done within 2 or 3 days. We started sharing information amongst ourselves. So Zach was logging the people that were booking onto this once we publicized it, and we could click through, and we'll have a look at how files work in a moment. Now, when we talked about the issues with email, we mentioned that if I send something out, I want to know someone's read it, and so they send me an email back that, you know, get another email that just says thanks and just clogs it up. With Teams, it's different. We can just like stuff like we do in all our, you know, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram or any other social that you use. We have this in Teams, so I can overhang and I can see as soon as Mo put the PowerPoint up, I like that. James also like that. So Mo's aware that people have seen it. He's got some reaction to it. If I didn't like it, we could put an angry face or a sad face or whatever it is, or I can put a comment. I can also see that it highlights in these different conversation threads, there's a little @ sign next to some of them. Now that means I've been mentioned. So you can see that Mo had put there, I've made this over for some PowerPoint deck, and he obviously Mo wanted to just, am I okay with that? And so he name checked me in the conversation. And so straight away, my eyes are drawn to that. First of all, when I come into this, if I've come in at the end of the day, I can see the areas I've been name checked, and I can have a look at what am I being asked to do something, or so on and so forth. And so very quickly, we get this idea of a thread. I can reply to whatever has been put. So I could quite easily type, "That's great, Mo," if I wanted to. Obviously, we use the like, but could we change, I don't know, slide 3 or whatever it might be. And as soon as I put that, it's on there. And Mo then will see that comment pop up in his thread. He'll get, you know, the team will change a little bit. So it'll say there's something new has happened, some new activity. And I can see straight away that suddenly Mo's like that. So he's saying, yeah, I can overhang. I'm assuming it's Mo. Yeah, there you go. Mo has now reacted to it to say, yes, I like that comment. No problem. We'll obviously get it changed. And that then allows us, and we're going to come back to this in a moment, we're going to show you how we can collaborate real time on files that we're working on, so there's no confusion around who's got the latest and greatest version of the file. But that thread goes down. We can be a little bit more, you know, we can format those responses a little bit better, where we can have more information, we can attach files to them, we can have an emoji if we want to, or a GIF to make them a little bit more fun and personable. We can do a whole bunch of stuff in our responses, but 9 times out of 10, it's a simple response like we've shown there, and we can then dive in and start the thread going. And I love this because I don't have to plow through 100 emails, try and work out which order they came in because someone replied before somebody else, and that then triggered a new conversation. I can just scroll down here with my eyes. I can do it on my phone. We'll show you that in a moment, and we can see what's happening. And so by the time I get in, I can maybe catch up on the conversation, ignore some of it because someone else has dealt with it. I can click on things. So Mo designed a little image we're going to put on our social platforms, on our website. I can click on it, get a good, nice view of it without leaving Teams. You'll notice we've not left the Teams product. I can drop back on that, and I noticed that we got the date wrong. We said the 21st, and then we get a few replies here. And I said, look, sorry, we got the date wrong. We need to make it the 22nd. So almost, you know, a few minutes later, 2 minutes later after I posted that, Mo had then updated the date to the 22nd rather than 21st. Very basic, but you can see that, you know, reviewing artwork, reviewing files is very easy to do. And then Zach, who does a lot of our copy, has put on here that this is the type of invite that's going to be sent out. So again, I can click on that. I haven't left Teams, and oops, it might have been removed or deleted. That's good. There's a message there that was going to be sent. It's probably gone now and been sent out. But we can review that, and down the side I can still start seeing that the comments, so I could continue to review something and comment on it while I'm reviewing it. Okay, so I can just drop back and close that out, and away we go. Now, we talked about how we collaborate and work on things, and very easily we can share content from the web, so I can have a look at the website that was put on there, and the registration page that the guys worked on. I can look at the session ideas that we came up with for our second one of these. But just for the purpose of this, we're going to have a quick look at the PowerPoint that Mo did. I think it's probably dropped because we continue working that right down at the bottom because we've been working on it. So because I've just actually put a new comment on there, it's now gone to the bottom of the thread, so people know that it's different. But let's just click on that. So you'll notice I've not left Teams, and what I can see is it's using PowerPoint in terms of the web app. I'm just going to move this out of the way for a moment. Let's check that down there, and I've got my slides. So we said we needed to change something on slide 3, so I go to slide 3, And what I can see is one of my colleagues is already in here. So you'll notice that should have probably just changed color to orange. And I can see when Mo clicks on something, I get his initials. Mo, if you could just click on one of those items, perhaps. I can see that Mo already, it's telling me he's working and he's editing on slide 3 within the app. So I can find out exactly where Mo is. He's obviously doing something now. So I can see that that's Mo. If there were multiple people as well, it wasn't just myself and Mo, but other colleagues, I could see what various people were working on. And I can be in there as well. Mo's changing a few colors for me. I might want to change some of the text that's going on here. So I can change that. Mo's changing the color at exactly the same time. So we are all working on this. I'll just put that back to normal. And as you know, even though we're all in different locations, I'm still at home, Mo's working from home today, and yet we're working on the slide. We could be on a call, just like I am with you, one-to-one, so we could be discussing, should we move this, should we move that, and we can work on the PowerPoint simultaneously, exactly the same time, multiple people coming in and working at the time, so we can make sure we only have this one version of the software. We don't have 3 versions of this PowerPoint, so Mo changes something and I've moved something at the same time, and then we share it and it crosses over. It's horrendous. It just doesn't work. This does. This is all being saved up into Teams, the files area on Teams. And so there's only one version of it. I can access it wherever I am, as long as I've got an internet connection, and we can work on it together. So very, very quick and easy way to collaborate. If I was working on this and Mo wasn't online, I could make my changes. I could put the comments on the side in the Teams chat that's still going on. And Mo would then be fully aware that I've maybe changed the color of this to that, or I've moved something around. And this will work with all the Microsoft Office apps. So it could be Excel, Word, PowerPoint, you name it. We can they'll all work in the little web apps. I could even open it, I won't because of time, in the desktop app, and I could still work real time in it while Mo is making those changes, and I would see them happening as well. So if I want to drop out of Teams, you do get a few more features in the desktop app, but that's becoming less and less. Every time Microsoft does something different, the web app is almost as good as the desktop app now, so it's not a problem. So that's just showing you hopefully how easy it is to collaborate on a project. Thanks, Mo, for diving in and helping me out there. So I'm going to close the PowerPoint down. I don't have to save it. We go back to our view, and those changes have now been made to the presentation. So the rest of the team, if they need to pull that deck down to use it, will absolutely have it based on that. So it's this idea of chat-based conversations that we have. I always say use it or think of it more like WhatsApp rather than your inbox. If you're in a WhatsApp group, probably hundreds of them, if you're anything like me, you just log in, you can see what's going on, and just very quickly update your opinion or your ideas. And it's exactly the same with Teams. It's chat-based rather than that traditional email based of the software. So that's a general look at how we do that. The other area which I always show on Teams because it's important, and I think especially with us working remotely and probably going to continue work remotely for some time, at least for part of our lives, is Microsoft on Teams gives us the ability to use something called Planner. Planner is a way to allocate tasks to people. So if you're worried about how do I manage my team, how do I know that someone's not sitting there at home watching Netflix rather than getting on with something, I don't think most companies micromanage anymore. People don't really like to be micromanaged. But what we can do is set tasks and make sure we're all achieving stuff. And I think that's good. It's good to have a structure and knowing what's required of us. Now, this is free. It's part of Teams. It's part of Office 365. It's called Planner. It'll work on your phone. It'll work without Teams. You just download the Planner app. But what we have is the ability to create tasks. So for Summit, we said we had some stuff we had to get done before the event. For marketing and for myself and James, who were putting the sessions together. We then had after the event, what were we going to do? And we had some ideas around the different sessions that we were going to run. So very basic. You can have this, these as complex as you feel them needs to be. But if we click on one of these tasks, we can then start to see more information. So we give them a name. We can see that I've set a date, a start date and a due date. So we had 4 days to complete some of these tasks, and we set an important priority. And we then put 5 tasks that had to be done. We had to agree a date when we would run the sessions. We had to publish those sessions. We confirmed who were going to run the various sessions. And then there was 2 that were being left to do, which was a run through, obviously do a practice. And also we were allowing people to download an app that was free of charge. And so we had to arrange a trial for that. So 3 of those tasks have been completed, and you can see that if I just close that down and look at more of the overview view, it just tells me the 2 that are waiting to be completed. So, you know, we can see the due date. So obviously that is overdue now because this was back for the middle of April. And so it's highlighted it in red for me. And I can see the 2 people that had tasks assigned to them, which was myself and my colleague James. And I could add new people. I could assign, you know, different tasks to different people of the team. I've got all these people that are unassigned at the moment to do those tasks. So if we were struggling with workload, we could assign somebody else. And the marketing guys had some tasks as well. And again, they've done most of theirs. There's one left to be completed, and that was allocated to Zach and Mo. I could put some comments. I could add an attachment, so maybe a document that gave the marketing guys some more information about what we're trying to achieve to get them moving on that. So Planner is a very useful tool to list stuff out, make sure we're on track to hit stuff. We get different views, which I find really interesting and useful. So I can see very quickly that there were 10 tasks left to be completed on this planner board. And we can see that some of them are late. 2 of them are late because of the dates we set. Understandably, I can click through and it would show me which ones are late. We can see the different buckets and how we're getting on with getting those done. And we can see who may be falling behind with the tasks that have been assigned to them. So I had 2 tasks. One of them is late. One of them is not started. So I'm not doing great there. But again, as a manager, I can look at this and very quickly I can see all my team members and see who's got stuff to complete, and maybe, you know, are they struggling? Have they got a problem? Do they need some help? Whatever it might be, we can see that. And again, we can take it into the date view. Obviously, we're in July. This was set for April. If I go back to April, so again, I can see if I had lots of tasks when they're due within the calendar to make sure that we're hitting the dates that need to be completed by. So Planner is a really useful little tool. As I said, it embeds itself here within Teams. You can have multiple planners, multiple buckets of information within those planners, and it will give people reminders. It'll pop up in your inbox, pop up in your calendar within Outlook, if obviously that still is living and breathing and working away for us. So it will remind us that we need to get stuff done. So I think Planner is great, a little tool, and we can just keep adding stuff so these tasks keep going. I think it's really useful while we are in you know, remote working distance. This is a great way to make sure we're hitting those timings, and a great way for managers to make sure their teams are staying on track. One of the things that the research that Microsoft did showed was that that people are actually working far more in terms of past the hours of 9 till 5. Sometimes that's agreed because they might have to do some childcare, homeschooling or whatever, but also that people are still logging on at 8, 9 o'clock onto Teams. And again, if that works for people, you have some flexible working, that's good. But also we will talk in a little while about making sure we try and put some boundaries so we still have a work-life balance that's correct. But that's Planner. And that's quite a nice way of again, just staying together and collaborating, being connected was one of those main themes we wanted to work on. Okay, let's have a quick look what else we are going to do. We could upload files and everything into here. We haven't really got time for that type of demo today. So let's jump down into a few of the other things that we've done. Now, you said you're all using meetings. I think one thing I'd always say about meetings is try and be prepared. You want people to come in. I think the one thing with Teams meetings that is great, if you schedule a meeting, you can put information in, you can chat with people before the meeting. So I don't know, the night before, the day before, you could maybe just put something in the chat that says, you know, is everybody ready? Is the presentation done? Has everyone got their thoughts together? So I think it just reminds people coming to that meeting, do not come unprepared. So don't have that 10 minutes at the beginning where everyone works out why we're here, what we're meant to be doing. So whenever you create a meeting within Teams, if I go into the calendar, for example, and I look at maybe the meeting we're in now, if I just double click on that, you can see I have the ability to, across the top here, I have chat, files, details. So I'm currently on the details tab, which tells me what it's all about with the link. But also I could go into a chat area, and anyone that's in there, we could put some chat in. And again, this can be before the meeting starts, during the meeting, so on and so forth. I could maybe share files with people that need to be looked at beforehand. And we have also something called a whiteboard. And when we said right at the beginning that Microsoft are finding that meetings are getting less engaging with people, we need to build this culture that we have our cameras on when meetings are starting, but we find different ways of working. So I'm going to share with you, I'm not going to do it in Teams, because if I fire up a whiteboard, I think it's going to stop showing what we've got on the screen to you guys now. But if we're in a meeting, I could fire up a whiteboard. So I've got Whiteboard loaded as a separate app. And one of the things I've missed with the marketing guys is I'm not a particularly creative person, but the guys that work in my team are phenomenally talented. And so when we get around a whiteboard and we come up with different ideas, people come up with ideas and of what we're going to do next. And I've missed that by not having the sessions. So hopefully you can see this. We have an app called Whiteboard that allows us to share information, to scribble stuff down. If you've got things like touch screens, or and I mean that on your laptop or on an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device, we can share stuff, we can move stuff around. So this is one that we were just looking at, a new campaign. So we set some tasks. We need to get this ready for July. So me, as someone who's leading this, sets the requirements, and then we can all work on this together. Again, I haven't shared this for collaboration right now, but Mo and Zach and the rest of the team, Sam, can be in here. They can be sharing their ideas. They can be scribbling notes down. They can quite easily have a pen option. I can use this with my mouse. So if I wanted to just highlight something very quickly, like we would maybe do on a whiteboard, if we were in the office, we can do that. Most people can be scribbling around. We can be copying and pasting images in that we've thought about. We could draw, the way this process is going to work, and really start to brainstorm what we want to do. And people can then go away and look at that. They're not going to lose the whiteboard. It's not going to be wiped off like it probably is in a meeting. And so when we come back for the review meeting a week later, people have still got those notes. They haven't had to scribble it down or take a picture on their phone that normally happens in a meeting. We've got it all in here. And then we have these tools. So again, if I want to then, remove that or whatever, wipe it clean, we can. But I think that's an area I've missed. And I think by using these tools that Microsoft are giving us, we can start to make our meetings a bit more engaging rather than people just sitting there. And if people know they're going to have to contribute, if people are going to be expected to add some content to a whiteboard, it keeps them on their toes. It makes the meeting a little bit more interesting, and I think that's really important. So whiteboard, it's there. It's part and parcel of the tool set. It's not without its problems. It's getting better all the time, but definitely have a look at it if you're in those type of meetings. And I think there's a lot of good stuff. I haven't really shown you too much what you can do there, but the very basic idea. But again, if that's the hub of your meeting, I think it's a great way to start sharing stuff. There's loads of stuff you can put in. You can embed notes, lists, follow-ups, PDFs, Word, you name it. We can embed it into the whiteboard to form a more engaging meeting. And I think those are the type of tools that really we need to be looking at as we continue to use Teams. So please have a look at the stuff that Microsoft are embedding into that. So one of the other areas that we were talking about, we've talked a little bit about collaboration. We've talked that we can work in real time. One of the things I do like about when you create a team, so I'm in my marketing team now, even in your subsets within your different channels, I won't click on it because it would drop the call, but we have a little thing down at the bottom called Meet Now. So you might not be able to see it if you've got if you've got your toolbar across the top, but across it where you've got your format and add things, you've got a little video camera. Meet Now calls the team immediately. So if there was a reason, right, we just need to get together, we've got a problem. Even if one person's not around, if you click Meet Now, it'll call everybody straight onto a conference call, and we can maybe get it resolved within a few seconds rather than, again, lots of emails bombing around or a thread that's taking place within the teams. We want to move, we want to get the answers quickly. So we Meet Now, and I love that fact that we can just call everyone who's available. They can join the call. Let's get it sorted very, very quickly. So again, one of those collaboration tools I think is really, really useful. Okay, so what else we do? The one thing that's changed, if you are having chats as part of that communications element, you can pop chat out now. So if I wanted to go into my chat area, obviously while I've been on, I can see there's some chats coming through with people telling me things. So Matt's obviously been on a session we ran earlier about Podfather. So he said, he's giving me a comment there that it would be good to get a 5-minute PowerPoint. If I want to ping that now, I now have the ability up in the top corner to actually pop the chat out. So I can have that chat with Matt going, and I could maybe have another chat with Mo. So let's pop that one out. You couldn't do this in Teams earlier, but I could have multiple chats going because that's sometimes what happens. So I can have the chat with Mo and the chat with Matt next to each other, and I can have 2 conversations going at any one time. So I think that's quite a nice feature. And if you've not seen that before, that's something that Microsoft have added in the last few months. You can pop chats out. So that's quite neat. You can bring people into it. So if Mo and I are having a conversation, a chat, and we wanted to take it from a one-to-one chat to a one-to-many, I can just click on there, and maybe I want to add Zach to the conversation as well. Start typing his name. I can add that, and he will come into the conversation. It will not show the chat that has taken place before Zach joins. So he's not going to see everything else. If we've been talking about something completely different, it will fire a new chat up with us, Mo and Zach and me, and we will start a new conversation along those lines. So it doesn't share everything via a chat, but you can bring as many people in as you want and start that chat going. But it is really useful now they've popped these chats out, because sometimes someone's asking you, multiple people asking you questions on a chat, you can now pop them out rather than jumping back and forth all the time. So I really like the fact that that's been added in. The one thing, again, I wasn't aware of, you can screen share within a chat. So you've still got your little tab on here, here with a little arrow pointing up. And I could screen share just like we're doing on a video call, but while I'm in a chat. So if we were in a quiet environment and I couldn't call, I could share my screen, maybe be typing away, Mo, have you seen this before? Do you know what this means? And that works really well as well. We had a little play with that last night. So you might not have seen that either. But chat's a great way of just communicating with your colleagues without disturbing them too much, and it works really, really well just to share. Ask a quick question. Great if I'm in a demo and I need to maybe say Mo or to one of my technical bots, what do we do here? I can ask them without being disrupting the meeting, so to speak. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to show you quickly was the idea of staying connected, and there's 2 or 3 things I wanted to show you. One is the idea of collecting information. So right at the beginning of this call, I asked for a few people to put their hands up, and that was a quick way of getting a very brief heads up of what's going on or an opinion on something. Just got some hands up in the room. It's a nice way, again, to interact. We can also go a step further, and this is this idea we can connect with things that aren't just part and parcel of Office. And if I'm in a team and I want to add something, I can add apps to Teams. There's loads of apps. You can search on them and scroll down and look at them all day. Some really nice stuff. So if you use Power BI for your reporting, you could drop a report in. So again, we might want our marketing report popped up on, I don't know how much engagement we have on our website and how many people are logging on to our sessions. And we could maybe write a report for that, and it would be there in the team. Again, I haven't got to leave to go somewhere else. And you can see Planner, the one we were talking about earlier. I'm going to do a Polly, which is a poll or a survey little app. And I'm just going to save it into my team, into this channel. And here it appears. Now, just in good old Blue Peter fashion, I did a template before we started, so I fired this up this morning. So obviously, people now are starting to open our offices. Our office has been open for a couple of weeks if people want to go back in there. It was nice to go in for a couple of days, but we haven't forced anybody back. But we're maybe gathering information around, would people come back to work? And this is maybe something you're doing as well. So what I'm going to do is I've created a few questions in here already. I'm going to add an extra question. So I'm just going to add one question to show how easy it is. I'm going to say, it's not a multiple choice question. I'm going to have it all open-ended and say, is there anything else we could do to make you more comfortable returning to the office? There'll probably be a typo in there somewhere, and I'm going to add that question, and that's my survey finished. I put about 4 or 5 questions in there, and I'm going to then publish it. So I'm going to preview it first of all. Oops, I needed to just not have another question. Let's just remove that one, and then we can preview it, and I'm going to send it to the channel, okay, which is the Surface Summit channel that we've got here. So all my colleagues will now be notified that I have a new survey. So if I go back to our channel, what we should see, so go there, is in the conversation we've now suddenly got a survey. So I'm going to start this survey very quickly, and I've got, what are your main barriers that you see in returning to the work? I'm going to say, okay, well, childcare might be a problem, and you can put multiple ones of these. This feels like the right time to return to the office. Do I agree? So I'm going to say, yeah, I agree with that. Probably does. Next question, I prefer to continue to work from home for longer. Do I agree with that? I'm neutral. I'm okay with going back to the office. How many days would you like to come back? Well, I'd say 2 or 3 days a week. So I'm okay on that. And I feel I'm being well kept informed about what actions the company have made at the office for my well-being. Yep, I agree strongly with that. They've kept me in the loop. And I believe the company has provided me the correct level of equipment and systems to work remotely. Yep, I agree with that, strongly agree with that. So you can see there, and then my final question that we just added, was there anything else you could do to make me more comfortable? So I would just put social distancing, which I know has been done, but just for the purpose of the survey, and I can submit the response. And as my colleagues start completing those, I can see there's been one completed. We can have anonymous. This is a non-anonymous one, so we're recording who's replied, but we could make that anonymous. And as people start completing that, I will start seeing the responses around what are the main reasons people are nervous about coming back or the problems they have to overcome. And so it's a great way, without any development skill or anything like that, I can drop one of these apps on, have a general feel for what's going on in the office, and over time different colleagues will be filling that out, and I can eventually look at the results. We could put a time limit on that, so it's got to be completed within 2 or 3 days or whatever, and I'll see the votes come through and get a general feel for what we could maybe do as an organization to improve the well-being of people coming back to the office. So that was, oops, I don't know what happened then, but that's something you can drop in, and there's loads of those different links. One of the other areas I thought I would do, if you use Business Central, you know what, if as Dynamics is your tool and you've got that enabled for the web, you use the web client, let me just cut and paste my link into that. I can put this in and put Business Central, and again, if I don't want to ever leave Teams, just put Business Central, and what will happen, it'll create a new tab, and if I click on that, bang, I'm in my Business Central instance without leaving Teams. So this is the idea that we can really connect stuff up. I can work without leaving Teams. So someone might have asked me a question regularly about, I don't know, something within the system, a license question about one of the products we sell, and I need to go into Business Central. Rather than dropping in and out, I can find what I'm looking for. There's the information, grab it, and then I can go back into the posts and then put that information right there. So this is this idea that we have these different tabs across the top. It becomes my hub. We remain connected at all times. So that's a couple of things I want to show you. One of the other areas as we start to bring our thoughts to a close is, let me just show you how the mobile app. So when we talked about being connected, mobile connectivity is becoming important. So I'm just going to share my phone on the screen. Hopefully this will all work. Okay, there we go. So just take this back off, and you can now see the Teams mobile app. Okay, so this is real time. This is working on my phone. I hope everyone can see that okay. And I've got all my teams there. Down the bottom, I've got activity, so I can see there's some new activity that's happened. I've still got those 3 chats that were taking place. If I go into the marketing team, I can see the Sofa Summit channel we've been working on. I can see in the last few moments a new survey has been added, and I can see Business Central was also added. So I could actually start the survey or view the results on my phone. So I can see that 100% of the people who have answered said childcare was one of their reasons for doing this. So, if I am at a different location, I just want to access it on my mobile phone, I can still get the information I need, maybe to feed back into a meeting I'm about to go into, or a customers if I'm just about to go on site. Back in the days we used to visit people. But we can see quite quickly all the posts. I can reply, I can like stuff if I need to, just by holding down on the message. I still get all that stuff that we had before very quickly and very easily. And some of the other areas on the mobile app that I think are important just to show that's a little bit different. First of all, you get all those features you'd expect. Okay, everything we shown that was important. You can make video and audio calls on your phone. So if I wanted to, and I wanted to, I don't know, contact, I don't know what Zach's doing right now, but if I rang Zach and I put my camera on, if I wanted to, that we could start to see, I could have an audio call or a voice call over Teams. Okay, I won't disturb him, but we could have that. We can have that video call. It's all then recorded in our history within Teams. So that's still part and parcel. I can catch up with that. I've got my calendar as you'd expect. The other things that I think are quite easy, I can still open files, by the way. So if we went back into, so it's actually just ping me. You can see this is all real time. Did you mean to do that? And I'm just going to put, yeah, sorry, please ignore. Okay, so we'll just ping that back too. So that's fine. But again, if we wanted to, we could do a video call. You can see the video option in the top as well. But if I go back into my my Teams, we go into marketing. We were looking at that PowerPoint earlier, weren't we? And if I go to the files area, I can see that the last thing we worked on is now top was the PowerPoint template. And there it is in a very basic format, but I could review it. So we can see everything that we've put, and if I wanted to, I could actually power it up in PowerPoint, and I could play the presentation. I can flip my screen around, and I could actually see if I wanted to play, you know, what those slides look like in a much better format. So I can edit something if I want to put a new comment in, or I could delete that and change it a little bit if needs be. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now, but I can edit or review files very easily while I'm on my mobile device. And this is all part and parcel of your licenses. You don't have to cost, it doesn't cost you anything else. In terms of having some boundaries, what you do get is the ability to set quiet hours. So if you go on your mobile app, you'll notice that you have notifications, and you can then set quiet hours. If you don't want your phone telling you after 5, 6 o'clock in the evening that something's going on Teams, you can set your quiet hours from 7 o'clock in the evening till 7 in the morning or whenever. And if you work part-time, you can set quiet days. So if you don't want Teams interrupting you, you have the ability to lock that down, which I think is vitally important in this day and age. I could spend ages on the mobile app, but I won't. Hopefully that's given you a rough idea of what you can do with Teams and stay connected even when you're on the road or on the go. So that's important. I think the other thing to mention is that idea of concentration. You'll notice this is all presence based. So there's an image of me there, which at this moment is saying that I have a do not disturb because I'm presenting. Because I'm showing my screen, Teams knows that I'm probably doing a presentation, and I don't want to be disturbed by maybe someone sending me a chat message. So those 3 chats or 4 chats that are now there haven't popped up on my screen because it doesn't want to disturb me. Now, it's very important as we live in a world where as we are remote, people just ping us all day, every day, that you start understanding how you can set your statuses to make sure that you don't get disturbed and you can get on and focus on something. So by standard, if we're green, we're available. If there's nothing in our calendars, Teams will normally set you to available. If you have a meeting in your calendar, it sets you to busy. So people are aware you're busy, but it will still let stuff come through. So notifications will pop up. Do not disturb is what we're on right now. I would really look at using that more frequently than you probably do. If you don't want to be disturbed, you want to crack on and complete something, set yourself to do not disturb. And obviously you've got a few more of be right back and appear away. But you can have some level of settings around that. So you might want to say, I want to have a level of privacy, so do not disturb. But I do want my my managers to be able to get hold of me. So I can say that, if I want James, who's the MD of the company, oops, just type James in there. I could say, even if I'm on do not disturb, then James can have priority access and he can come through. So you get some level of control around that. And you can also have people, if you're in there, who you don't want to come through. You can have a block list if someone really is pestering you. I encourage you to set your status message. So if you are about to complete a task, so maybe today I might put presenting today, so will be unavailable. Again, forget my typing. There we go. And I can say show when people message me. So as they start to message me on chat or something else, this will pop up and tell them so they won't waste their time. And I could maybe say contact, for example, I've used him all day, so I'll pick on him again. Then they could just click on there. And if you're in a bigger organization, Mo would be able to help if I couldn't do it. And I can say clear the status after today. So if I forget it, it won't be there in the morning. So again, that's quite a neat way of setting our statuses and set some time to actually complete stuff. And the final thing I'll show you, because I have completely run out of time, is setting this idea of focusing and concentrating. If you go into your inbox, you have a thing called Insights if you're using Office 365 now. And if I click on Insights, what it will do is it will go and look at what's going on with your calendar. You'll notice that there are 2 documents that have been emailed to me, which I haven't read yet. There's 2 that have been sent with some level of importance. And I can see I've got some tasks where I've said I've got stuff to get done. And every day, if I just close that down for a moment, Microsoft sent me an email when they've scanned my inbox and said it was 4 days ago that someone says, can you confirm we can set the system in this way, please? So it's scanning my inbox and trying to lift stuff up on a demo we did. And I can say, well, I've done that, or it's not a task. Or I think, actually, yeah, I need to click on that. It'll pop the email up and I can reply to it. So it's a very nice way of alerting us to stuff we may have missed. If I go into Insights, this is what I wanted to show you, and into my dashboard. Again, it's part of Office 365. You'll get it for free. It tells me how often I'm having focus time. I'm not being interrupted. I can set times of the day. Who am I collaborating with? There's a load of information on here. But if I look at the focus time, I can set periods of the day where I will be set to do not disturb. And so every day, I might say between the hours of, I don't know, 8 and 10, I want to catch up. I want to get my day started correctly without being disturbed. And you can go in there. You can plan your configuration and say what time and when, what's your working week, when do you want your focus plan. At the moment, the system automatically looks when I've got blank areas in my diary and sets focusing time and puts me on do not disturb automatically, which is really useful. And there's a lot of stuff in there that you can look at, what your meeting habits are like, that during meetings, 68% of the time, I don't have any chats or emails, so I'm not jumping out of that meeting to do an email. And you can see how long you're there, how many hours you're in, do you overlap, blah, 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 blah. So, start to look at the information people are giving you to make yourself more productive. And this is all available within it. You can see who your main contacts are, who you're working with a lot, over 20 hours, or, I work with these guys, and you can see the type of interaction you have with your colleagues or so on, or people from within other organizations. So there's loads of information within there that can hopefully help you focus your time. Thank you very much for attending. If there are any more questions, I'll be on here for a little while. If not, enjoy some lunch, and hopefully you'll be on your the next few sessions that Mo's put on there. Digital choices when you're upgrading from Dynamics Nav to Business Central. If you are a Nav user, I would really, really recommend you try and get onto that, because we're going to talk about how you can take your annual maintenance and split it monthly. Microsoft have just allowed us to do this, but you only get one shot at doing that. If you miss your renewal, then you won't be able to do it later on. So if you're looking at that, then please, if you're a Nav user, at least understand what you can do, maybe to help your cash flow in the difficult times that we are in. Microsoft very rarely give us anything, but they have on that one. And then finally, creating users and permissions with Business Central and Dynamics Nav at 2:30. But thank you very much. Any questions, just email me and I'll see what I can do to help.